Okay, hi! Let's see if this goes how I want to go. But yeah, hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Melisa Rodriguez, for those of you that don't know my channel yet. I make videos about medical school, about some pre-med tips, about my lifestyle as a medical student, and other things too. And my last video was a week ago, and it was a video from December 14th, which was my finals week. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go see it to see how my finals week went. And if you did watch that, you know that I did finish my first semester of medical school, and I'm really happy about that. I just haven't been able to do more videos. I just have been doing nothing for the last 10 days. It's like crazy. Like, I've been so unproductive, but I kind of like needed this break. I've been just watching shows and just here with my family. We're in quarantine anyway, so we can't really go anywhere. I encourage you guys to stay home as well. The pandemic is definitely not over yet. So in today's video, I'm going to just be reflecting and just sitting down here with you guys and reflecting on what exactly I learned during my first semester of medical school. If you are studying medicine, I feel like you can relate, and if you're a pre-med, maybe you will see some things that you might want to start studying or might want to start researching about, so that you will be prepared for your first semester of medical school. If you are already in this cycle and you have been accepted to medical school, congratulations. I'm so happy for you, and happy also that you guys are watching my videos more. I'm really grateful for all of the new subscribers. Welcome to this family. I will consider you my friend if you are subscribed, and leave me a comment down below if you are new to this channel. And yeah, we'll get going with this video. I want to do more medical school related videos, informational videos, also like this one, not just vlogs. So let me know down below what you would like to know, and if you would like to do a Q&A session with me and like a live thing, I can also set that up. And yeah, happy New Year's for those of you that are watching after the 31st. But yeah, let's get started. In my school, we do a full semester. It's called Foundations of Biological Sciences, where we get kind of like a crash course of everything that we're supposed to know before we get into system-based learning, which starts next semester with neuro. So there's 3 different parts of our first semester. We enter into what is called FBS, Foundations of Biological Sciences, and that is the main portion, right, of the semester, and that's what I'm going to go through today, about like what we learned. There's also FOM, which is Foundations of Medicine 1 for the first semester, because it's continuous throughout all of the semesters. This is just the first one, and I'm also going to be telling you what we learned there. And we also have PBL, which I made a whole video about it and why I love it so much and exactly what we learned. So if you haven't watched it yet, I recommend it. I will put it here. But yeah, PBL is more like a reinforcement of the material that we learned at FBS. So I recommend you to watch that video and let me know if you liked it as well. But yeah, let's get started with what I learned. And I have it all in my computer. I think this will help me to just reflect, and sometimes I feel like I don't know nothing, but I can definitely say that now I have like a full background. Even if I don't remember every single detail of everything that I'm gonna tell you, I have like a background knowledge on every of these topics. Embryology, we learn about embryology a lot. What about embryology? We learn about body cavities, the formation of the body cavities, skeletal and muscular embryology, respiratory and cardiovascular systems, the gut, urogenital development as well. Also, we learn about biochemistry. So first we learn about all the basic biochemistry, everything that is on the MCAT basically. And it includes everything like DNA replication, RNA processing, and protein synthesis and whatever. All of that. But we also learn more like about the metabolic pathways of biochemistry, metabolism of carbs, proteins, and nucleic acids and lipids. And we also learn more about the nutrition and digestion behind like biochemistry. And we also learn about a bunch of inborn errors of metabolism. So this is when all of these metabolic pathways might go wrong. What happens to the patient? How does it show in the clinical point of view? So next, we learn about carcinogenesis. We learn about cell injury and adaptations. So when some cells get damaged, what happens to them and how do we adapt to those changes? We learn about acute and chronic inflammation. We learn about congestion and edema. This is really important. At least for me, this was all new content. We learn about thrombosis, embolism, and infarction. So yeah, those are very common topics that we may see in rotations. We learn about neoplasia and some characteristics of cancers. We learn about histopathology. What about histopathology? We learn about the environmental pathology, so things of like chemicals and things we are exposed to at work and just in our daily life and how that affects our health. We learn about histology. What about histology? Lots of histology throughout the FPS. We learn about the integument, which is the skin. We learn about the respiratory system histology, cardiovascular, GI histology, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas histology. We learn about the urinary system histology, endocrine organs, reproductive system, the female and male. We learn about the female breast and the placenta or pregnancy. We also learn, so that's for histology. I'm sorry, I needed a break. So we will continue through what we learn. So next is pharmacology. So what about pharmacology do we learn? We learn about pharmacokinetics and dynamics, like the dynamics of different drugs, how do we process them once we take them, and different forms of administration, like how do we give different drugs. We learn about the autonomic nervous system, parasympathetic and sympathetic drugs. How do they work? Like anything from cholinergic drugs, beta blockers, alpha blockers, things like that. We learn about antibiotics. So what do we give when the patient has a bacterial infection? We learn about spirochetes and intracellular pathogens pharmacology. So these are like worms and stuff. We learn about antiparasitics, drugs of mycobacteria, which is tuberculosis, and fungi. Next is immunology, the beloved immunology. Everyone found it a little difficult, and it is a little bit difficult. If you are a pre-med, I recommend you to start learning a little bit of immunology like in your pre-med years, because it's definitely a lot to process, and it might be better if you have background knowledge already. So, immunology, we learn about the immune response, complement system, inflammation. We learn about antigen processing and presentation. We learn about the B and T cell lymphopoiesis, or like the formation of these two different types of cells. We learn about the T cell immune response and the B cell immune response, which is different. It's the humoral versus the cell-mediated. We learned about tolerance and autoimmunity, different types of autoimmune diseases, and how a person might be predisposed to an autoimmune disease based on genetics and so on. This is when tolerance goes wrong. We learn about transplantation, all of the things that are required in order to have a transplant and how does it work, different forms of rejections. We learned about, like I said, cell-mediated immunity and the immune response to tuberculosis, allergic reactions, which are mediated by the IgE. We learned about NK cells and the innate immunity in itself, which includes the NK cells. Next, microbiology. This was all new information to me, lots of microbes. It was crazy. Sketchy didn't work for me, so I used the Boards and Beyond videos and different things in order to remember it, Anki and all these things. So I learned about the basics behind the different virulence of gram-positive bacteria, gram-negative bacteria, spirochetes and obligate intracellular pathogens, parasites, fungi, viruses, a bunch of them. Which viruses did we learn about? We learned about respiratory viruses like COVID-19. We learned about DNA viruses, RNA, gastroenteric, neurologic, and hemorrhagic fever viruses. We learned about hepatitis viruses and HIV. Also, next, we learned about anatomy. So what about anatomy do we learn? We learn about the organization of the nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. We're gonna go more in detail in next semester, because next semester we're covering neuroscience and behavior, so it's more focused on neurology. So then we learn about the back and the spinal cord anatomy. We learn about the shoulder, axilla, and pectoral region. We also learn about the arms and forearms anatomy, my favorite. We learn about the hand, wrist, and joints, different joints. We learn about the chest and the lungs, all of that anatomy that goes there. The heart and the great vessels, of course. We learn about the abdominal wall and inguinal region as well. We learn about abdominal viscera and its vessels. We learn about the pelvis, the pelvic diaphragm, and the perineum. I don't know if you guys' words sound familiar to you. If they do, please comment down below. I recommend to take an anatomy class during undergraduate. That's highly, highly, highly recommended for me. I took it and it was helpful. You do forget some stuff, but since you already have a background, it's much easier to learn it once you get exposed to it in medical school. We learn about the pelvic viscera and the gluteal region and the lower extremities. So everything, lower extremities, that was the last thing that I was learning. I have some blogs about learning it, and I also have a video exercising so that I can remember the different muscles of the lower extremities. So yeah, guys, this seems like a short list of things, but it is very detailed, and we do have to learn a lot of things and a lot of different diseases. So next semester I'm excited because we're gonna start system-based learning, and that's gonna be a little bit different, and the questions are not gonna be made by our professors. They're gonna be retired NBME exams, which are the people that make the USMLE exams. So it's going to be a little different. I don't know how my studying schedule is going to be adapted to that. I did pretty well in the first semester of medical school using Anki and just relying on my previous study techniques, but I'm sure I have a lot of little different things that I need to change and adaptations that I need to do, because now once we start school again, we're going to be having 2 days in person for the FOM part, or the clinical skills part, which will require a little bit more of my time. So that's how it goes. For FOM, which I told you guys about, Foundations of Medicine, we learned how to do a complete medical history. It might sound just simple for you, but it's a little bit difficult to like get the hang of talking to strangers and asking them different kind of questions. I have a whole ASCII video about it in my channel if you guys are curious about how it is that we ask some questions as a first year medical student. But we also learn some physical exams, maneuvers, and how to do them, like the abdominal exam, for example, and we learned it through videos. So that means once we get back, the very first week, we are doing like a boot camp in person, in which we're going to practice all of these exams that we need to do and see how we can do it in person. It's very like overwhelming for me because I haven't really practiced it with no one. My parents don't let me practice on them, so I have literally no one to practice on. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of learning, and I'm excited. If you have any questions about this, about all of this stuff that I just mentioned, please leave them down below. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If it was fun for you, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.